Welcome to Devotionables, brief devotions for busy people. I'm Michael Knight, one of the pastoral interns here at 9th and O, and I want to welcome to you once again to Psalms. Brother TJ has done a great job on 40 days in the Psalms, and so we continue that book. And I'm a big fan of reading from the chapter in Psalms itself, and then, of course, reflecting on Brother TJ's book, on his chapter, to help us understand what the Word is trying to speak to us. And as I was reading this today and I thought about, have you guys ever done something that later on you're just like, man, that was foolish? You know, you think, I wanted to do a certain way, and then I realized that compared to the way the Lord wanted it, it's pretty foolish. It's not a very good way of looking at it, and it's just downright wrong, right, in comparison to the Lord. And so, as Brother TJ talked about in the first chapter, two ways of living. And as we get into chapter 2 here, this is the alternative way to living a blessed life and a peaceful life found in the Word. But on the contrast of that, we find ourselves now living our ways, the ways that we think are best. And as he puts out in his book, it shows it on a national level. It shows it, the kings, the rulers of the world, living in opposition to God, doing the things that they want to do and not living by the way that they want to do it. And so it's laid out very well in terms of in the book. Brother TJ's laid out like how each verse is laid. And so the very first 3 verses shows the rulers of this world's audacity, as it were, to rebel against the Lord. And David in Psalms 2 is going to express the futility and the irrationality of rebelling against God, right? And so when we think about that, though, we do that very same thing every single day. We rebel against God. We think our way is better than God's way. And so as I think very great, Brother TJ says that likewise to Herod and Pilate, our leaders and world leaders are the faces of examples of those who openly rebel against the Lord. And so although it's easy you think about right now with what's going on in Afghanistan and what's going on in the rest of the world, it's easy to see our leaders and how they rebel, how they do their own things, how they're not serving after the Lord. But as Brother TJ is trying to express to us, they are merely the faces of examples of how we ourselves are also foolish and when we are in opposition to God. And so as it's easy to see the rulers, as it's easy to see as our examples, we have to be reminded that God is going to make responses to those fools. And so in verses 4 through 6, he's going to scoff. And why does God scoff at the fools? And that's because they can't succeed, because it is absurd to fight and rebel against the Almighty. And as he concludes towards the end of this chapter, he's going to talk about how Jesus is the rightful heir and the ruler of the nations, and that he will judge righteously in verses 7 through 9, fulfilling David's promise of the coming Messiah. So, how does that lay out for us? There's obviously a warning there. There's the consequences, but I love what Brother TJ says, that even though they deserve God's judgment of rebellious leaders, he chooses to warn them and thus give them opportunity to come to their senses and wisely choose to listen to instruction and experience a truly blessed life by taking refuge in the Lord. And so, as he says in his living it out, living independent of God's authority robs us of happy, blessed life, which we were created to enjoy. An insubordination to God is the path to ultimate destruction. The one who takes refuge in God by loving Him and delighting in His Word will experience a happy, blessed life. So when we think about the 2 ways of living today, let's think about how we're going to live more in accordance with Psalm 1 and how we're going to fight against our sins of thinking and living like Psalm 2. Hope you have a blessed week. Thank you, 9th and O.